One. Okay. This is Team 3 with Jason, Joe, Wan Ling, and Carrie. We're going to start off with question 1 in the mini challenge. First group we found was a group we called the Bodyguards of Scott Jones. They moved at the same path for all 3 days. For Friday, you see that the path follows exactly the same as the ones on Saturday and the ones on Sunday. And we also see that they have the same number of movements, very consistent to all 3 days. For the next group, we found these are the thrill addicts. These people, this group has 9 people. They generally like to go to, or they mostly like to go to the roller coaster alleys, and then followed by the wetlands. On average, most people like the wetlands more, but these people are thrill addicts. We think that the park can probably improve by adding more roller coasters and removing Kittyland, because they did not go on Kittyland at all at 0.05% of their check-ins. For our third group, we called them the tour group on vacation. We noticed that they spent roughly the same amount of time in the park for all 3 days cumulatively, and relatively the same amount of check-ins at the park as well. So with a group size of 22, relatively distributed between all 4 areas, consistent check-ins on both Saturday and Sunday, we think that they're a tour group. An improvement that the park can make is maybe to reduce traffic, open the park early for tour groups, and more roller coasters. And Joe, you're up. Joe, hello.
So sorry, I was on mute. This is cluster 4. And so this is going to be another group that I'm calling the youngsters, because they, it's a group of 59 people. I'm thinking that maybe it could be some teenagers or young adults that are there possibly with clubs or sports teams. They entered through the north entrance only, and they spent 0 time in Kittyland. They remained completely on the outskirts, did not check in at any of the kiddie rides. Most of their check-ins were at the thrill rides also, and their most favorite was being the Atmosphere, which you'll see there on Friday night at 5. And let's see. And another reason I'm thinking that this is a youngster group is because they start leaving the park pretty heavily at 8 p.m. So I'm thinking it's curfews, parent pickups, that type of thing would cue that they would leave the park before closing at 9 or 10. And then my next cluster would be 47. You can go to the map. And with this group, I'm calling it a mix match, because there is a little bit of everything going on. They go through Kittyland, they go through the Sill Seeker or the thrill rides. There's some check-ins at the pavilion. There's movement towards the stage, but there's no check-in, so they're not attending any of the shows. And so there's no real steady pattern with this group. They're less common. They have fewer check-ins than a lot of the other clusters, and they stay less time in the park. They end up leaving the park pretty early in the evenings. And so I would say that there may be older adults there to ride some rides and walk the park and then take off. They're not staying for any events or stage events. And then 19 would be the last one I will be discussing. And this group is only of 2 people. It's a rare group, very unique to be this small. This group they went to all of the different parts of the park except for Kittyland. And they spent 75% of their time in the wetland and roller coaster alley. Some other observations is that they entered the park at the same time, they left at the same time, they rode the same rides. So that indicated that they were traveling together. And it looks like they attended one of the events on Saturday for Scott Jones. And so we thought that this would indicate that they're either dating or married, or at least they came together as a couple. An improvement would be to reduce the number of the kids rides and add in more general and thriller rides. And next, I think we have Carrie.
Wanling is next.
Oh, sorry, Wanling.
It's fine. So the first cluster I choose is the class 3, and I named it "It's Fun for Everything" because they have the 174 people in this group, and they pretty much enjoy everything. They went to like a 4 park area like evening and trying to do everything. So it's also like the top 6 of the group that they like the total time they spend in the park. And so yeah, I can see this is like a large group, and they use the like all of the all of the entrance. So the improvement, I think they just like kind of can add more attraction in the park for this kind of group of the people. I feel they are just our target. And the second cluster I choose is the cluster 25. And there are 40 people in this group. And they also pretty much enjoying everything in the park here. And also they, it seems they enjoying the roller coaster alley a lot. And the one thing I found is during this map pattern, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it seems like each day they went to different attractions. So they didn't do the things repeatedly when they in the park, and they also only came to the park from the north entrance. And the third cluster I see is the cluster 50, and this only have the 8 people in this group, and this spend a lot of times from Friday to Saturday and Sunday, but it seems they only enjoy the color roller coaster alley, wetland, and the tundra land, and not too much on the Kiddo Island. So I assume this group probably won't not have kids. The only attraction they enjoy is the theater. So this is like a kind of like a small group with like a couples. So the improvement I suggest is also like add like the roller coaster alley. I think it is like one of the most popular attraction in the park. Yeah, here comes to Terry.
Okay, you might be on mute.
Sorry. For number 27, we feel that is probably indicative of being a tour group due to the time that they're spending in the entry corridor. It seems to be a little bit longer than most other groups were spending. We also noticed that there wasn't anything going on Friday. So it might be people taking a weekend when they're off work, or a tour group that would most likely probably travel and cover over the weekend. Okay. And then for this one, I feel that these people are probably families, and they have children of all ages, because it looks like they split a lot of their time. Looking at individuals in the group, some of them you can definitely tell they are in Kittyland and they're checking in at Kittyland, but at the same time, there's other members of the group that are spending more time on the roller coasters. So I think because this group only has 17 people in it, that they might be splitting off from each other, and some of maybe the teenagers are going to the roller coaster part while the parents might be in Kittyland. But their universal thing is that they all love the wetland, and that seems to be the most popular with everybody.
Perfect.
And
For question 2, we noticed that on Fridays is usually the lowest volume of patrons by number of check-ins and by number of total movements, and it steadily increases to the highest in Sunday, topping over 10 million for movements and 130,000 check-ins for that day. Even though after the event, after the crime, there was a dramatic drop in movements, it was still the top for those 3 days. Speaking of the drop, this graph compares the 3 days and how the movement trends over the hours. Every time there is a Scott Jones event, we notice a huge dip in movements, probably because everyone crowded the stage to look at the celebrity. But once the event ends at around 11 a.m., for at least for the first event, movement kind of steadily increases here and then decreases over the hours. And then at around 2 p.m. again, the event starts again, except for on Sunday when the crime happened, they actually canceled the event, concluded earlier, and we see a huge decline in total movements, whereas the other 2 days we actually see an increase after the event and then a steady decline. For question 3, for anomalies.
Yeah, so one of the blips or anomalies that we found was at the Galactosaurus ride. On Friday night around a little after 7, it shuts down for an hour. There's 0 check-ins when the rest of the hours throughout the day had been pretty steady and consistent with at least 1 check-in. So we're assuming that there was something to do with maintenance or some occurrence happened causing it to be shut down for an hour.
The second anomaly is, so on the stage, basically the stage is open on the certain times, like the Fridays, like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And Saturday it's like 2 to 4. But we can see from like on Friday, and there's a 4 check-in, and there's another 3 check-in on Saturday. So those like the check-in is kind of like outside of the normal opening times on the stage, so that's why we count as the anomalies here.
Yeah, the openings are corresponding to Scott Jones's event, and there shouldn't be any check-ins.
Sorry, I forgot.
It's okay.
For this, we see through the bodyguards' movements that it's pretty much what we would expect on Friday and Saturday. There's a break when the events are going on, but we noticed that there isn't one on Sunday. So that shows that the event was probably canceled.
For this graph, we're showing the total check-ins by ID, by visitor ID, only on all weekends, on all the days that we're looking at for the stage. Generally, if you're a fan of Scott Jones, you'll visit at least once, twice if you told a friend and you want to visit again. But it is an anomaly that you're going to visit all 3 times, and we're not accusing these IDs, but it is strange that these, I believe, 11 visitor IDs visited the stage 3 times. And the last anomaly we see, backing up what Carrie said, these are the check-ins for the Creighton Pavilion. We think that the crime happened right before the second event on Sunday, and this backs it up. On Friday, we see normal check-ins for Creighton. It opens only certain hours of the day, similar on Saturday, but on Sunday, it closes right after 11. So it closes at 12, and then we assume that the theft happened between 11 to 12 p.m. or 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And just to touch on mini challenge 2, we noticed that 2 communication IDs, source IDs, has a crazy amount of communications at 190,000, and the second most by any one person is 60,000, and every other ID has less than probably a couple thousand. Don't really know the exact number, but yeah, these two are definitely outliers. And the top two IDs we looked at are 1278894 and 839736. We think that for 839736, he doesn't have any or very little communication until Sunday at 12 p.m., which is when we think the crime happened. So he is the initiator, where 1278894 is the recon person who scouts out the crates and pavilion just to get some information on the metal.